Hello, everyone. I am so excited today, so blessed to have this wonderful, awesome, wise, phenomenal woman for our Women's History Month show. Not only is she awesome and wise, but she's a community guru, a media guru, a radio personality. I mean, I love her in so many ways. We've connected, and she's given me so many wise words. And I could not celebrate Women's History Month without having her on my show. Please help me welcome Miss Marsha Reeves-Jews. How you doing today?
Hi, Shalay. Thank you so much for thinking about me and bringing me on. I'm so excited. This is wonderful, particularly because it's coming from you. And I've already seen the work that you do, and it's
Yes.
phenomenal. I'm so proud of you and all of your accomplishments.
Thank
So we should be interviewing you.
I love you, Miss Marsha. You always have words of encouragement and wisdom. And I think that's what makes a phenomenal woman is that somebody who encourages. So I just wanted you to just talk about yourself, your career, and what you've done, what you're doing now. Can you just introduce who you are to the audience?
Lord have mercy. See all these gray hairs.
Beautiful gray hairs, may I say. Okay.
So I started really, I worked part-time as a kid at Reuben Cleaners,
Mm-hmm.
putting the tags on the clothes.
Yes.
And Reuben Cleaners was owned by Irwin Reuben, and Grandma and Grandpa Reuben, who sat in the cleaners behind the counter every day, all day long, watching their little cash register ring whenever I would come in, or anybody who was at that cash register. They would watch that money, honey. So it made me think about how you supposed to watch that money. But it was also a very good learning experience in being in the public. I grew up in South Bend, Indiana, which was predominantly maybe 4% Black. That
Mm-hmm.
was probably giving you a lot extra. So that was a really good experience for me to be in a public setting with so many people who were not of color. We weren't saying those words. They were not colored back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was a great experience. And then I went on and started selling clothes over at Worth. The girl who used to be in my school, her parents owned a dress shop out in the mall, out McKinley Mall. But the biggest thing was, I went to college for like 5 minutes and it didn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was not that person.
Yes.
And I moved to California and stayed with my uncle. And my first job there was with Glen Organ Ford,
Mm-hmm.
renting cars.
Wow.
So, but I rented, honey, I was renting those cars. So we were renting the
Yes.
cars. We were renting the cars.
They probably saw your face and was like, I want to buy one from her.
Renting those cars, girl. We were renting those cars.
Right.
And so I don't know. I just happened to be somewhere and I don't even remember. I know it was like food related, but I don't remember the name because that was like 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy said, I think that you would be a great receptionist. And I said, okay, fine. And I did. I went and I got a job as a receptionist at Trans-American Video. It was a videotape leasing facility. So
Yes.
they were the first mobile van that you would see out on the football field because they all used to play football or whatever.
Wow.
So I did that, and then they opened up the Merv Griffin studio, which became the Merv Griffin studio, but it wasn't then. And it was the post-production center, and I became a secretary. So that was that whole life, right? I got married and divorced and had a baby. And my first real job was setting up military exhibits for the United States Marine Corps League. And we brought in tanks and helicopters from the Falkland Islands. We landed the Buffalo, which was owned by de Havilland out of Canada, in a parking lot in Arizona. And I was the only little colored thing over there. And they were and they were all generals or colonels,
Right.
retired.
Yeah.
And we had the Amphibious Warfare Review magazine and Proud Tradition magazine. And I sold the advertising for that, but I also sold space in the trade show for all of these tanks and helicopters and all these people who were trying to sell their equipment to the United States Marine Corps.
Wow.
And it was very powerful. We ended up having it at the Sheraton Washington Hotel. And I did that for years until I moved to Baltimore. My first job here was as the advertising manager for the Afro-American newspaper for Baltimore, Washington, and Richmond.
Mhm.
And then from there, I got a job at the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater Foundation of Maryland and became their executive director here in the city. And then my next job was at Career Communications Group, and I became the president, chief operating officer, and associate publisher. And we produced the Black Engineer of the Year Awards Conference.
Mhm.
And I was one of the co-founders of Women of Color in Technology back then, but they changed it to STEM.
Yeah.
And I was over all of the magazines, Black Engineer and Information Technology magazine. And then I left, got a divorce from the third husband, and moved to New York. And I had a contract with Columbia University at the Institute for Learning Technology and the Institute for Urban and Minority Education, and doing community technology development. And we created all of these community technology centers. And then with one grant, and then with the second grant, we connected them all on an intranet. And then with the third grant, we created a community technology center bank where you connected all these people and then they could purchase, all these organizations could purchase in aggregate. So now had a membership, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And when that was over, it was a contract. And when the program was over and they were all set up and ready to go, I opened up my own art gallery
Mm.
and tried to Zaj and tried to hold on. Girl, I got caught in the wasteland of gentrification. And
Oh,
I literally lost everything, lost every dime, every nickel. I had to move back to Baltimore and sleep on my daughter's couch. Right, right, right. I was trying to hold on. I was trying to hold on. I borrowed money. Some people I still need to pay them back. I'm still, going through all that. I mean, it was very difficult. And I don't think that I was so upset about me losing my business because I hadn't been in business but a couple of years. But
right.
it was those Black businesses. One of the reasons why I went to Harlem was because I wanted to be in a place where nobody knew my name, but
Yeah.
also I wanted to be in a place where there were people who looked like me, who were doing things, and I just wanted that energy, right?
Yes.
And there were people who were in second and third and fourth, fifth generation of businesses that went out of business because of gentrification.
Yeah.
And so we sit down and we look at all of what's left in Harlem and you say, what happened to? Where's so and so? Where's the little restaurant? Where's the little dress shop? Where's the little place where I could get my little king? Where are those places? And they're gone. And so gentrification it murders a community. And then you see all of these people, same thing we're seeing in Baltimore, same thing you see in DC, where nobody wants to make the investment into the Black communities, but then they wait until there's nothing left. And so then they
They
can go in, they buy it all up and move everybody out of the way. And there we are. When we look at all of these urban environments and how we as a people were thriving, we were thriving in the 30s and the
Yes.
40s. We think about Black Wall Street and that they bombed a whole community and murdered all these people. And so we sit down and we look at this. So right now, I guess where my passion is I'm over in East Baltimore. And how do we salvage what Hopkins has really removed? It was almost 300 acres of land and people being moved out into the counties where there's no transportation. And I know I'm off topic, but these are my passions, and
Mhm.
it makes me crazy. And it
Yeah.
makes me crazy that our kids aren't learning. So all the things that are important to me is educating our community, employing our community, creating entrepreneurs and building Black businesses, and working together where we can have our children being safe and sound and happy and peaceful.
Amen. I love that. I want to just go back to something you said that I think was so important. You grew up in almost a very small percentage of Black communities. I'm often thinking about Zora and Hurston was kind of the opposite, right? She grew up in an all Black community. She felt so much pride in being Black. And, then she was faced with reality.
Right, right. But even in South Bend, we had our enclaves of Blackness, right? So I lived on the east side, and the east side was, like 4 streets going east, 4 streets going west, 3 streets going south, 3 streets going north, or whatever that the makeup is. And they were all Black. And in the center was Coquillard Park, right? And that's where we all congregated. We still get together every 2 years and have an East Side reunion.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah. And so, Dr. Bell, Dr. Butts, Dr. Shambly, you had Jerome Perkins, he was the first Black detective. You had, so you could go Uncle Tom, who had a television repair place. We call him TV Tom. And so, we had all of these people who were doing great things. And you had that same type of people in all these other communities on the east side, the southeast side, the south side, the west side, the north side. And so we were close. There were only certain churches that we could go to. And outside of each one of those enclaves were big, huge white communities. Now, in our community, we had, I went to Pearly Elementary School.
Yes.
And it was Black. We were all Black. It was like
Right.
Chocolate City. And then we had to go down the hill on Eddy Street. We had to go down because it was down the hill. You had to go to Thomas Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
And Thomas Jefferson was predominantly white. And there were very few of us that were going in as a class, right?
Yes.
And we know each other. We still stay in touch with everybody. Like Beverly Dixon's birthday is on the 20th,
Right.
So, and it was there at my 8th grade year, and I was a cheerleader, and Susan Grow called me a dumbass nigger. Yeah, I beat her ass. And
you wasn't playing that.
Oh, well, see, first of all, I couldn't have gone up that hill.
Right.
And not because Jan and Rhonda and Beverly and Brenda, all they had talked about me like a dog, girl. No, that wasn't happening.
Right. Yes.
No, sir.
Right.
But that was real, right?
Yeah.
That was real. And the principal called me in the office and whatever he said. And I was like, yeah, well, you just wait till my dad comes up here. So I went home and my dad went up the next day. And he said, well, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. And my father said, she didn't have to hit her because she called her out in the name. My father, I call him Cool Carl. And Daddy had a restaurant, nightclub thing, and he was what do you call it, caterer. And I call him Cool Carl. And
Right.
Daddy looked at Mr. Perkins and he said, if you called me a dumbass nigga, I'd whoop your ass. Now this is Cool Carl. Carl was always he was sharp, but Carl stood up for his daughter. Right?
That's right.
He stood up. I'll always remember that. But then they made me get off the cheerleading squad. And Dad said, he brought my cheerleading thing. And he said, here, I don't want her cheering for this school. If this is how y'all. And I said, well, wait a minute. Can we talk about
He was making a point. Like those.
Making a point. This ain't what you gonna do. So, okay. But, we sailed through school and did our thing. But it was, the relationship in that community is still prevalent. And there are people, we have an East Side Reunion Facebook page. There are people from the South Side that we still talk to. They're all on Facebook. It's small enough where you knew everybody.
Yes.
You knew everybody. And
I miss that sense of community. And, I grew up in Bedford-Stuyvesant and Brooklyn. That had that community, and it means so much to me. We knew our neighbors and our neighbors' parents, our neighbors' grandparents. We knew what everybody was doing. And when somebody died, the whole neighborhood went to the funerals. It was so much community involved. And I kind of
love.
Yeah.
Love.
Yes.
It was genuine love.
And I think that's why I love Zora Neale Hurston, because she talks about the community. It's flawed. It's real. It has problems. People have problems. There's all different kind of personalities. But at the end of the day, the community comes together for the good of the community. More of that. We need more of exactly what you're saying. And I know you're so passionate about the community. And I love that passion. That's one reason why I wanted to have you on here. But just growing up, I want to know, who were your female role models and why?
That's a good one. The first one would be Aunt Betty. So Betty Fleming, and she was Karen Fleming, Cookie, who's deceased now. She died 2 years ago. But Karen Fleming's mother made the best macaroni and cheese in the whole wide world,
Ooh,
like like forever.
wow.
Betty, Betty Fleming. But she was also a gentle, peaceful spirit. She was she lived on Soren Street. I lived on Bissell Street, and I'd always go over there because she was always cooking. She was like the real housewife,
Right,
and she had
right.
other kids, but she was just loving and kind and funny. She was just funny, and she just joked with us and told the truth about growing up and be. It was just, I loved her because she really showed me in in a setting, because I was raised as only child.
Mm-hmm.
um, but she had 3 children, 4 children. Yeah, Cookie, Diana, Nisi, and Arvester. And so when you look at that, she wasn't upset. She never showed any hostility. You never heard her. I never heard her scream. I never heard any of that. And everybody was their own person. But
Yes.
she also dressed to the nines. So I really loved her fashion
Yeah.
sense, right? And she was just like really one of the girlfriends. And I think I was probably a little bit more mature for my age,
Mm-hmm.
but we could just sit and kick it. Well, Cookie and everybody else was doing whatever they were doing. I always wanted to go and talk to Aunt Betty, right? And so Aunt Betty, and then I think the other person would have been Goldie Ivory.
Mm-hmm.
She lived 2 doors down, and she was the first Black professor at the University of Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
And but she had this peaceful spirit, right? And so, I'd go down there, knock on the door, and she had twins, Kenneth and Kevin Ivory.
Yeah.
And I'd go and knock on her door, and she said, "Oh, Marsha, come in. I just need to talk to you. I was thinking about you the other day." And so we would just sit in her kitchen. But she kept saying, you can do anything you want to do. You can be
Mm-hmm.
all these people. But that was the community. Everybody did that. Frances Dixon is the
Yeah.
other. She was a teacher. Her husband was a principal, and Beverly was her daughter, Pamela. But I'd spend the night over there all the time. And Beverly would spend the night with me. And they were all so different,
Right.
but wonderful. And then Helen, my aunt Helen was a nurse, but then she went to IU. They have a library named. She has a library named after her at IU Extension in
Wow.
South Bend. But she was involved. So she was really like the community person. If you were hungry and you knocked on the door, oh, go ask Miss Pope. She'll give it to you. She'll give.
Yes.
And she would, right? And so my
I love.
cousin Jerry, yeah, she was,
Story
yeah,
I love. Those are the people who impress me, right? The people that will open their home to the neighborhood and feed the kids that weren't their own, and that would teach the kids something. One of the things that I teach my students, one of the first things I have them read is The Lesson by Tony Kade Bambata. And the way that this teacher took these kids in and tried to get her to learn, get these kids from the hood to learn something that would elevate them. And I just think that's what makes good women, right? Us as women.
yeah. I think that we've gotten away from that.
Yeah.
We've lost the connection of community in a lot of neighborhoods, and we see the schools are not as strong and aren't the conduit that they used to be in our communities to success.
Yes.
There are people who are more interested sometimes, I think, in how much money they're going to make or what they need to do to survive. And wow, I didn't think it was going to be like this. Um, but there are a lot of people who are committed, and some communities don't have the administrative assistance. And I just think that we as a community, as Black people, we need to be more involved in every level of our communities. We can't just sit back and just turn our heads and say, oh, somebody else should do it. We need to be able, we have so many outlets of sharing information that we really need to do more of that. We need to, when people are wrong and, we have issues that are impacting our kids, their grade scores are low or whatever, or they can't get on the internet because their parents can't afford to, or they've laid off, or we have to start pitching in. We can no longer say it's somebody else's job to do it. And even though this is 2021, racism is still alive and well, sexism is still alive and well, and we have to be real clear that we are the who's going to do it.
Yeah.
It's us.
Oh, I love it. I love that. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about your, one thing that I see about you is that you are a survivor. You've been married 3 times. You are unapologetic about your divorces. But you have when I see you, you exude pride and self-esteem and confidence. And, I know that every woman has their days, but tell me how you were able to overcome some of those traumas of your divorce and what kept you going. Like, what was that thing? There's so many people that crumble under their trauma.
Lord. So you sure you want to hear all this? So the first divorce was my daughter's father, and that was Joshua.
Mm-hmm.
Joshua was at that time probably one of the few, well, he probably a lot more, but anyway, he was a member of Mensa. He was a genius, but he was certifiable.
Mm-hmm.
And he had some real deep-seated issues that I didn't know or understand. I was young when I married him.
Right.
And he he hit me. And, the first time I didn't deal with it, but then he picked me up and he threw me into a glass coffee table. And it was then that I realized that if I stayed, either I was going to kill him or he was going to kill me.
Yeah.
And then Sandy, because she was born at the time, would be an orphan.
Mm-hmm.
So we hitchhiked to the Houston airport.
Wow.
Where I call from Conroe, Texas. So you had to go through, and if you look on the map, it's still there. Cut and Shoot, Texas.
Wow.
So that was a sign. So you see the cut and shoot. So
You hitchhiked, Miss Jews. I can't imagine that.
yeah, with a paper bag and my daughter on my hip, and went to the airport and called my dad, collect, and he went to the South Bend airport and bought a ticket for Sandy and I to come home.
Wow.
And so that was the first one. The second one was a lawyer, and Josh was an engineer. Second one was a lawyer, and he was supposed to be going back to Washington, even though we moved from Bethesda to Baltimore, and he went back to Baltimore to Washington to do a deposition.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was awful late, and it wasn't home. So that kind of deposition was this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing I knew, he came through the door with a cast and 2 crutches. So I was like, "So what happened to you?" It turns out he was playing basketball. How'd you go from a deposition? They had a deposition at the basketball?
Right. Right.
Okay, so he was a liar.
Right.
So that, and then he was representing this big drug guy. And rather than having him meet him at his office, they would go down into my basement. And so I said, I don't want him over here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's a drug dealer, and I was working at the Afro, so I knew everybody's business, right? So we do not want the dude up in here,
Right.
so no. And he went off, and I said, okay. So the next thing, he came home to an Echo, and I had moved out,
That's right.
right? So that was that one. And then the last one was a businessman, and he was out of town, and I was at the grocery store because in a couple of days we were going to have something at the house. But I decided to use his car. It was in there. It was like a big car.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, I'm gonna just drive his car. And I drove his car, and I went to the grocery store. And as I was putting things into the trunk, um, a bag fell, and in it was one of those spreadsheets that accounting sheets. And there were a lot of names and a lot of other information that should not have been in my husband's bag in his trunk.
Wow.
And so, after a lot of thought and a lot of assistance, I needed
Mm-hmm.
mental health to deal with that, to talk through that. And I decided that I would rather start all over
Mm-hmm.
than to do that. And it was from that that I moved to New York. And
Wow.
so I am unbullyable.
I love that. You are unbelievable. I love
I am
that.
unbullyable. And sometimes you sit down and you say, okay, so I walked away from 10 bathrooms and I have one, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay with that.
That's good. I love it, Miss Martin. You are not compromising who you are for a
Mm-mm.
relationship. I love that.
No, no. I think too often, we get to a place where it's the things that keep us there, right?
Mhm.
It's the 10 bathrooms, the 6
Yes.
bedrooms, it's the big parties, it's the travel, it's all
Mhm.
that, it's the, all that.
Right.
But you're miserable and you're sitting up coiled in your bed crying at night because you
Yes.
want that financial peace,
Right. Yes.
right?
Yes.
Which
Yes.
really wasn't even there until I got there. So, okay, because you were living some other kind of way before.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know what? Let me just go do what I do, and the Lord will deal with whatever. I still paying off bills and still trying to find
Mm-hmm.
money to pay off others. But the reality is, I'm at peace,
Mm-hmm.
and the people that are in my circle, in my universe, are people that trust me, and I trust them.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have to question, I have a saying: "If in doubt, don't."
Yes.
Something
Yes.
is
Good.
negative, why are you doing it? Because you already
Yeah.
know, the Holy Spirit is inside of you. Whatever your
Yes.
religion is telling you what you need to hear and what you don't need to hear, what you need to do, what you don't need to do. You need to make the decision and be real about it, whether or not you're going to deal with that. And am I going to sacrifice who I am for that? Am I going to
Mhm.
sacrifice that for a bathroom that I only flush every now and then because I don't even go to 10 bathrooms? Come
Right.
on now.
Right.
So so my ego is supposed to be compromised. My life is supposed to be compromised. My mental health, my emotional health is compromised because I have created this facade and I need to carry it on. Or
Mm-hmm.
am I just going to be who I am and allow myself to live and to be at
Mm.
peace and to let God give me the mercy and the
Mm.
love and the grace that I need in order to make it through and turn it over? And here I am. I'm still standing. I'm still doing and all I want is my last name. I did a Tina Turner. Just give me my last name. That's all I want because it's easy and people remember it.
That's right. That's right. I love it. I love it, Miss Marsha. I wanted to stay on that point a little while because I think we do live in a time which women, and you're a wise woman. I don't like to say older. I like to say
But I am,
wiser.
girl. I turned 69 years old and I'm grateful. Whoop, whoop,
Well,
whoop,
you
whoop,
looking
whoop.
great, Miss Marsha. Okay, but yes, give me that hair. That hair is just gorgeous. I love it. Every
Look at
bit
all
of
this
it.
white hair,
Yeah, I
girl.
love it. I love it. Okay, they need to put you in a movie. Okay, Miss Marsha, you need to be cast in one of the movies. All right.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about us working together. How about that? Make
Yes,
it happen.
yes. But yes, I want to stay on that because I think these days that women do feel that pressure. It's so much pressure still to like be
Yes.
in a relationship, to have a
Mhm.
man, no matter what quality of man you get, you know. Can you
Right.
just speak to that, like the importance of peace and not, you know,
So
falling into that trap?
I think what happens is for whatever reason you kind of look around and you say, okay, I'm by myself, and we pick. I mean, I did it. I
Right.
picked three fools, right? So I mean, really. So we're so busy trying to think that that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to get married and have our kids and live happily ever after. And we want the picket fence and we want the little red door and we want the little flowers and
Mm-hmm,
we want to
mm-hmm.
have the little receptions and whatever. But we're miserable. And there are a whole bunch of people that are miserable.
Yes.
But we get so caught up in what somebody else is giving us versus us getting what we need for us. And for
Mm.
us to be able to think about who we are and what we should be building for ourselves. Are we really turning our lives over to somebody?
Wow.
And if you've turned your life over to somebody, have have you looked at all of the things that are important to you? And is that somebody able to give you what you need, your emotional health?
Mm.
Does that person make you smile
Yes.
more than cry?
Mm.
How many tears have you overflown a bucket with? How many
Jesus.
pails of water have you thrown away because you've been in so much pain?
Yes.
How often have you sat in a room observing the madness and you know in your heart and your mind and in your spirit that that's not where you're supposed to be? How many times has it taken for them to hit you that you realize that that person does not care about you?
Wow. Wow.
When we sit down and look at all of the things, how do they manage money? How do they manage your money? How do they take care of your house? How do they take care of your kids? How nice are they? I mean, Sandy and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago that the second husband was horrible. He was just a
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mean-spirited, ignorant person. And
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't see it. I should have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't see it because I didn't want to see it. I already gone through a divorce. I didn't want to be a single parent anymore. But that's what I had to do. And it took the little broken legs for him for me to realize that's not where I need to be. And Sandy and I jumped in that what do you call it? That big van came and took everything out of there because it was all mine anyway. From the
Yeah.
6-bedroom house that I got myself in Bethesda before I married him.
Wow.
Okay. So that's those military exhibits, girl, setting up. That was making some stupid money. I wish I was anyway, that's another conversation.
Right.
But you sit down and you look at it and you say, okay, I've gone through all of this for what? I've gone
Yes.
through all of this, and this is a sum total of where I am,
Mm.
where I was
It's
to
good.
here,
It's good.
where I am mentally to here, where I am spiritually and physically to here. I mean, I could have died falling through a glass table. That
Yes.
did not matter to that person. How many glass tables did missed you?
Mm.
How many doors were slammed? How many times have you shook your head and trying to think about what you needed to do to get out of there? You know that movie, Get Out.
Get
It's
out.
it's Get Out for a reason. And
Yes.
so we don't really look at those because we're supposed to be, and everybody kept saying, oh, well, you should stay, you've been married. I'm not doing that. I was miserable all 3 times.
Right. Right. And you
And
found, I know you are a person of joy. Doesn't mean that every moment is happy, but I know you to be a person of joy. And I know you find joy in your family and your community and the things that make you happy. And I love that. I love the fact that you didn't compromise who you were and you didn't settle. If you had to go back and give yourself, your 25-year-old self advice, what would you say?
I said, are you sure you want to have this baby with that man?
Yes. Yes. That's honesty
Really?
for you.
I mean, I love her, but should he have been her father? Like,
Right. Right.
I was like, what was wrong with you, girl? I mean, like, for
Right.
real, what was going on in your head that you felt you needed to marry
Yes.
that?
Right. Right.
No, really.
And it is really a reflection on us, right? When we
Right.
choose some of these people that we choose and we don't see the
Girl.
things we supposed to see because it's love, because of
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
love.
Child, I say take out a piece of paper and a notebook and you start writing down everything that you see. Now, if I had it to do all over again, right? I'd get my little notebook wherever it is here. I'd get my little notebook and I would just start taking notes every day after I saw that person while we were
Right.
still dating or, playing around at dating or whatever. I'd write all the good and have it with, the good, the bad,
Yes.
and I'd write it all down. I'd write it all down. And when the bad outweighed the good, I said, you know what? Excuse me, baby. I don't. This won't. We need to rethink that. But thank
I
you.
love it. I do it now, Miss Marsha. Like, you're saying that I do it now. This is the reason why I decided to leave my last guy I was with, because I did the list. And the
Right
bad
on.
outweighed the good. And I'm like, wait, hold up, hold up. It ain't supposed to be like this, you know? Just the fact that I had to do a list, you know what I'm saying?
See what I'm saying? When it ceases to be fun, it's
Yeah.
time to go.
Yes,
And
yes.
sometimes you need to go a lot faster than just taking your time. Sometimes you need to leave that mess and keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
For
Yes,
real.
yes. And shout out to those that have stayed through whether we're
And
not.
we're going to pray for you.
Right, right.
We're going
We
to
are
pray for
not
you. We're
doubting
going to
that
pray for
love
you.
takes perseverance. But yes, I
Yeah.
think in some situations you do have to love yourself more to be able to leave.
And
Um,
you have to, you, to me, and I would not wish 3 husbands later on anybody.
right.
Right. And had I met the right person, I'd probably still be married. Right.
Hmm.
But I don't think that I even knew what that right person was supposed to be.
Wow.
Right.
That's good.
And so if you don't know what that person should really be, if you don't know who that person or how, it's not just what their job is. Who are they? What matches? What works together? And how do you weigh that? And
Hmm.
and when do you really start taking out that pad? I say
Hmm.
take it out when you first meet and it looks like you're going to do something else other than kiss goodnight. And
Right.
before you start bringing in that whole spiritual piece, because that's a spiritual expression,
Yes.
then you
Yes.
need to really do some soul searching about where that's going. Because too often we're going by what we feel
Hmm.
opposed to what we know that the spirit is telling us, because we get
Good.
warnings. We get warnings. The Holy Spirit is whispering in your ear saying, why you now, oh, so is that what we're gonna do? Did he really do that? I mean, are you, dang, well, I didn't know. When you have
Right.
to sit and do all of that, then you have to really sit down and have a one-on-one and say, there's something fundamentally wrong. And I
Yes.
don't know how we move forward, but we have to take charge. Sometimes we're so lonely. Sometimes we're so in such pain. We
Yes.
go through a
Yes.
lot. Just, when I was the Marine Corps League, let me tell you this story because this is
Hmm.
real powerful. When one day I was living in Bethesda and the location was over in Virginia, and they had a new president who was a retired brigadier general.
Hmm.
And he was, maybe 5 feet, but he would run every morning, like at 4 o'clock in the morning. The Marines run all over Washington. They're there. And so one day we had all had big Naugahyde chairs, right? With the big
Hmm.
long, remember those?
Yes.
Girl, by the time, once he started working there and he got his rhythm, he would get these little pieces of paper, like a sticky. I don't have one hand. He put a sticky and he'd tape it to on the back of my chair. So by the time I got, because he got there like at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
By the time I'd get there, the whole back of my chair was full of all these little pieces of paper, and I'd have to pull them off one by one, right?
Right. Right.
And I was the only black thing there, so I'm
Hmm.
accustomed to that. I was a woman and black and opinionated, right?
Yes. Yes.
So after a couple of days, I don't know. I really don't know what was going on. I've been thinking about this.
Hmm.
What was going on in my head? Something must have happened at home before I got to work because I
Right.
was like in a funk anyway.
Yes.
And all those things were on the back of my chair. So I start pulling the stuff off the back of my chair. And the more I pulled, because he had the whole thing was covered. But by the time I got all the stuff off the chair, I was on the ceiling. I was so angry I couldn't see, right?
Wow.
So I march into his office, and my face tells you everything. My
Right.
face is all snarled up, and
Yeah.
and he says, just just hold that, Marsha. Just a minute. He gets on the horn and he goes, the intercom. He goes, could you fellas come in? I'm the only thing there, right?
Right.
So there's the president of the company, the editor, and I don't know what he did, but anyway, he was there, and he was a non-commissioned, so he didn't have a rank. He was like
Right.
wasn't a private, but he maybe a lieutenant or something. And these guys were brigadier general, colonel, and major, right?
Mm-hmm. Big.
So they all come in, and they're standing. It's just, and Jerry Hagan, General Hagan, looks at me and goes, "Oh, carry on, Marsha. Say what you want to say." And I said, "Can I cuss?
Yes, you can.
If you put another one of these motherfucking pieces of paper on, I'm gonna beat your ass."
Marsha. Did you say that in front of everybody?
Everybody. And they looked at each other. And Hagan looked at me and he said, "We were wondering how long it was going to take you to say something." And then, and then we all went across the street. Now, they all had been in Vietnam. So we all went across the street in Clarendon to the little Vietnamese restaurant and got drunk. But, but he had been waiting. It was a test to see
Wow.
if I had the kahunas to work with them.
Wow. Wow.
That's real. And
Yeah.
so when you sit down and you look at those environments, that these are all white male military personnel. They're
Mhm.
all retired. And how dare you come in here and you think you can do what you're doing, because it was managed by a retired person, but there were other people who were actually doing the
Yes.
day to day, that they sold the company to Jim Rule. But you sit down and you look at that and you're like, wait a minute. These people were really serious, and they didn't think there was anything wrong with that, because it was, they wanted to see, can you handle what we do here? You're
Mm.
not a Marine. You're not military. How do we know we can trust you? How do we know
Mm.
what you're thinking and how? Because I'm not doing it in the military's way.
Right. Right.
And we had big trade shows, brought in tanks and
Yes.
helicopters and land them in the parking lot, and out in Tucson, Arizona, from de Havilland, we brought in the Falkland Island tank, the Alvis Limited tank from the
Wow.
Falkland Islands with its crew members to Washington, the Sheraton Washington Hotel. Talk about lessons learned. I'm the 3 commandants. And you black chick, you gonna be talking to the commandants and 3-star and 2-star active duty general. We don't know you. I don't care that you've been here for 2 years before I got here. I'm a general and I don't know you. I
Mm.
need to know if I can trust you and who you are. And we had that whole conversation over drinks. And
Mhm.
that's why it was done. That was really deep. I said to him,
Yes.
"What would I have done? What would you have done if I had just beat your butt?" And he said, "I'd have taken it. I'd have been happy to see you do it." Right?
That's good.
Think
That's
about
a good
that.
story about owning your power too.
Mhm.
It's so important that women own their power and recognize that they have to, and we have to use wisdom in every situation. But there are
Please.
times
Girl,
that
I had a child, and that was before I married Blaine. What you gonna do? You
right.
gotta see, you living large, you doing this over here, and you gonna go
Mhm.
in here. You have, my father said, you have 1 second to make a
Mhm.
life decision. That's a Carl. That's a cool Carlism. You have one
I love it.
second to make a life decision. That's how I live my life. And that 1 second that I walked into that man's room with all that
Yes.
stuff, I had made a decision that, okay, we're going to have to move, we're going to have to do whatever, but I'm not doing this. You will not do this to me. I am unbullyable. You will not do this to me.
Oh, I
Period.
love that. I love that, Miss. I love that, Miss Marsha, because you know what? I love that word unbelievable. You gave me something else to reflect on. And I think for Women's History Month, if I take anything, I'm gonna take that nugget and swallow it. Be
Mhm.
unbullyable, like
Right,
Miss Marsha says.
right.
Don't lower who you're standing, and don't give away your power. We giving away our powers too easy. We don't even know what we worth anymore. And
And
so
that's
I love that.
huge. Chalet,
Yes.
that's huge. And sometimes we're just trying to make it. We're just, at work. And it happens every
Yes.
day on somebody's job. There's somebody sitting over there that can't stand the way you dress. They can't stand the way, because they're jealous, because
Yes.
their life is horrible. And they come with all this anger, and they come, and then you're the brunt of all of that. And so and we get so caught up in just what I had to make that 1 second to make that life decision. I'm in a 6-bedroom house on Goldsboro at the end of Mass Avenue, and I'm getting ready to lose all this. If I can't get a job making this kind of big money, stupid money, are you
Yes.
kidding me? Right? We're talking tanks and helicopters, and I'm flying all over the world. What? And so I got, wait a minute. This boy, you ain't doing that to me.
Right.
I'm gonna take the hit. If I have to sleep in my car, I'm gonna take that hit because you will
Ooh,
not do that to me. You
I
will
love
not
it.
do that to me.
Miss Marsha,
Every
you are
day,
fearless.
every
Okay.
day, every day. Are you serious? You come in and I got to pull it off the back of, I can't even sit down.
Mm,
And it was a test.
yes. I
Now,
love it.
he didn't
I
kept
love it.
doing it.
And God will test us like that too. I
Woo!
believe that.
Yes.
He will
Because
test us like that too.
he will dangle stuff.
Yes.
What you gonna do with this? What you gonna do with this right here? You sure this
Yes.
what you want?
Yes. I love it. I love you. I love you coming on today. You gave some great nuggets, Miss Jews. Thank you so much for joining us. Be unbullyable. Be fearless about who you are. You have overcome so much and you came out like pure gold. When I was listening to just even the things you were saying today, I couldn't help but to think about Fantasia's song. Sometimes you got to lose to win.
Yes.
And that's what you did. You
Yes.
may have lost some things, but you were winning
Yes.
in the end.
Yes.
So I
Because
just want
those
to say
things don't mean anything if
they
you've
don't
lost
mean
your self
anything.
control, if you've lost your self love, if you've lost the beauty because you're so stressed out, the beauty is gone. If you just allow that pain to eat you alive,
Wow.
is that is that worth it? Is
And
it
I know
worth it?
exactly how you feel because I am, divorced, and I remember being in my divorce feeling like I was dying, like I was living, but I was dying, And I was thinking, well, maybe I should just stick this out. For we can give ourselves excuses why we can stick things out, but at the end of the day, my peace and my self esteem and my mental health was at stake. And I had to make a decision with 3 children, one who was just a baby, to
Mhm.
to just decide that one day he was gonna come home and nothing was gonna be there. And that's what I did. I kind of did that. Like I gotta run for my life type stuff. Like I gotta get out of this, you
And
know?
I respect you for making that decision with
Yes.
3 children. That's
Yes.
huge, Chalet. But
Yes.
you know what? Look at you thriving.
Yes. Well,
Look at
it's
the
God. I gotta
children
give all
thriving.
credit
Oh, we already
to
know that ain't
God.
nothing but the Lord. We
Yes.
already know that carried you through.
Yes.
And
Carry me through literally.
oh,
Okay.
I understand. I
You wouldn't even
understand.
have recognized me, Miss Marsha, if I was in that marriage, because that's what it does to you. It sucks you, your energy, it drains you, it makes you look different and feel different. And I didn't even laugh. I didn't even like taking pictures. I didn't know who I was because I had lost so much of myself. So it's something
Pain.
about, deciding that you're gonna be a winner and deciding taking back your power and saying, I
Yeah,
know who I am.
you have to. You
Yes.
have to. And it's listen. You walk into a situation, be it on a job, be it in a marriage, be it in a friendship,
Yeah.
and you hope that you can be the best that you can be. Sometimes life happens, and you hope that those people can be the best they can be. But
Yes.
life happens. But you have to make the decision, how far am I going to allow this to go? And how
Hmm.
much of my soul will be eaten
Wow.
that
It's
I can't
good.
recover?
That's good. That's good. I'm gonna end it right there because that was just so powerful. I don't want to say no more. Thank you, Miss Marsha
Thank
Jews.
you. Thank
I'm so
you.
blessed by your presence, by who you are, by the way you love your community, by your commitment to Baltimore. Where can people find you on social media? Your newsletter that you send out? Tell them a little bit about that in the next minute.
So we have WKIM Media and a newsletter, and it comes out weekly. If you, Marsha Jews or Marsha Reeves-Jews on Facebook. Same thing on Instagram or what's the other one? Twitter, LinkedIn, and just inbox me. And if you want to receive the newsletter, it's free. And just send me your email, and you can send that to Marsha WKIM Media Network at Gmail. WKIM Media Network @gmail. And just send me your email address and I'll put you on the email list, and you'll get it. We come out once a week. I'm still playing with which day because I'm trying to see how many opens that we get the best numbers coming in. So, but I'm having a lot of fun, and we're going to be launching something new. So I'll keep you posted coming up in April.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. You're a trailblazer. I'm so proud of you and everything you're
I'm
doing.
proud of
And
you, sweetie.
I love you. You know that.
Love
And
you.
guys, tune in. We have some amazing more interviews to come up the rest of this month. Look on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, and you'll be staying tuned. Thank you so much for joining us. Women's History Month. We're interviewing phenomenal, wise women. Have a great
Thank
day.
you very much.
You're
Take
welcome.
care. Bye.